this up if you tried. The Las Vegas Raiders have something cooking in Sin City, and it may be a little holy, right? Everybody knows you need luck when it comes to the NFL. You got to have the ball bounce your way. And what better way to have a little bit of luck on your side than to have three of the most Christian men, probably in football, in your locker room at the same time? Man, let's get into it. What's good? What's good, man? Appreciate y'all. 13 likes already and only two people? What's going on? Where the people go? But yeah, man, Kirk Cousins makes his press conference debut. And to be honest, it reminds me a lot of Derek Carr, right? A lot of Derek Carr. Very well spoken, very quietly spoken, very respectable, very humble. It just reminds me of the same old press conferences with DC back in the day, right? Shout out to everybody in the building. The Raiders have the Big Ten, the Big Ten Holy Trinity. You have Aiden O'Connell, Purdue. You have Kirk Cousins, Michigan State guy. Hondo is going to love that. You already seen from the interview today. And then you have the franchise, Fernando Mendoza, or is he? Man, we'll see. The Indiana boy, right? So you got three Big Ten quarterbacks in the building. They have a lot to talk about, a lot in common, right? They played in the Big Ten. They all love Jesus. They all, Bible thumpers, right? It's gonna be a pretty solid quarterback room, in my opinion. But where does the quarterback room rank for the Las Vegas Raiders as of now? Who's going to be the starter? Who's going to be the backup? Who's going to be holding the clipboard? More than likely, in my opinion, if Mendoza just doesn't completely win out, more than likely he's going to be holding the clipboard and learning, right? So does that put AOC as the backup? Well, Kirk Cousins talked about it a little bit today in his press conference. And yeah, he said a lot of things, but I got to talk about the one thing. Not asked about him, just off the top of his head, off the rip, he said, there's also Aiden O'Connell in the building who I'm going to be very friendly with over the next couple weeks, right? So he also mentioned that why he was a starter in Minnesota, his backup was crucial. So he said getting to know your backup, right, is a good thing. He relies a lot on his offensive line, on his center. He relies a lot on the backup, right? A backup has a big role in the film room during games, sitting down, talking over things, what they seen, what he's seen. So that's important. All these guys seem to be very, very similar, in style. And I think that's a huge thing for the Las Vegas Raiders, right? I mean, 2 years ago, even going back to 3 years ago, they had Jimmy Garoppolo, and then you had Brian Hoyer. Two totally different, aspects of quarterbacking. One's been a backup his whole life. The other one's, been to playoffs, made it to a Super Bowl, a little bit more mobile, can make plays with his legs. And then you had Aiden O'Connell, right? Three totally different guys. And then the following year, they went and got Gardner Minshew, a guy that could make plays with his legs, supposed to be a dual threat guy. And then they had Aiden O'Connell, right? And then they had Carter Bradley, who's another guy that's mobile, has a big arm. I wonder what Carter Bradley's doing now. I should have to look that up. That'll be a story for another day. But anyways, they had three different quarterbacks in the room, right? So if a quarterback got hurt, you have to change the system and be able to adapt to having a backup quarterback and play to his strengths, which the Raiders failed to do both seasons, and they failed to do drastically last year. They didn't even give the backups a shot, really. But they had Geno Smith, supposed to be a mobile guy, right? Could make plays with his legs, could move around in the pocket. We didn't see none of that. They went and got Kenny Pickett, totally different style guy, could make a couple plays with his legs here and there. They had Aiden O'Connell. They had Cam Miller, who's, basically a run-first quarterback that can throw the ball around. So that it's been a long time since the Raiders have had three quarterbacks that are very similar in the room. So, you know, barring something does happen, hopefully nothing does, but if something happens, is there an injury? The next guy coming in is pretty much the same quarterback as the other three, right? So it's not a big difference. You don't have to change your offensive system. And I think that helps. That helps throughout the season. That helps a lot. Put on these damn glasses. Shout out to everybody in the building who's here. Candy Angel, salute to the nation. What it do? What it do? Cheers. Greg Brewer, appreciate you, my guy. Faded Raider, as always in the building. Salute to you. El Pistafo, what it do? What it do? Red Rover, let Rebel come over. It's funny. I do need some cough drops. I'm dying over here, man. That shit was a creeping on me. Arnie Gaza in the building. Salute to you, my brother. What questions do we have today? Questions. Who are your favorite Arkansas NFL prospects in this draft? Every single one of them. I love them all. No. My number one is Mike Washington. My number two is Julian Neal. We've talked about Julian Neal, I'm sure, till he's in every mock draft that I've done, just because where he's sitting at in the mock drafts. You can't pass on a man like that sitting in the third or fourth round. So he's been on pretty much every mock draft I've done. A couple I've tried not to pick him and change it up. But it's Julian Neal, the corner out of Arkansas. Big guy, big hands, big arms. Can work on the hips a little bit. But I think he's a guy that can play in this league. I really do. And then Taylor Green, man. You know what it is about Taylor Green? Somebody's going to take a chance on this kid. And I think he has everything it takes to be a quarterback. He just needs to figure out the mental aspect. And once he figures out that, Taylor Green's going to be a nightmare if he ever does. There's a big if right there. Will the Raiders keep three quarterbacks on the 53-man roster? I believe so. I feel like this roster is deep enough. Not deep enough, right? No, don't get crazy, right? But I believe that we have enough guys in the building at positions that we could keep three quarterbacks. Last year, right? We didn't know who the starting defensive line was. We didn't know who the starting offensive line was. This year, we really don't know, but we have a pretty good, probably a way better outlook to who's going to start in what position this year compared to last year, right? We all thought JPJ was going to be the center. He ended up being the right guard. We all thought Meredith was going to, be the center. He ended up playing right guard and then playing center. We thought, we know Dylan Parham likes the right side. He played on the left side. So everybody moved around, man. Everybody moved around. But yes, I believe they keep three quarterbacks on the roster, just from what Kirk Cousins was saying, right? You got to have a backup quarterback that's ready. And if you're going to let a guy sit and develop, what better way to develop him than to have him the third string on the quarterback, right? That way, if something happens, you're not throwing him into the fire. You have a backup that's already prepared, that's game planned, right? That knows the situation. And I think that's the best route to go. Three quarterbacks are definitely better than one. So, yes. Troy in the building was good. What do we got? Arnie Garza with the questions. Who is the biggest breakout player this year? Who will be our biggest disappointment? Are you gonna? Hey, Arnie Garza, do me a favor. If you can you write these questions down and then my answer, and then let me know at the next year when the season's over, because I would love to know. Or Candy Angel or somebody in the chat, because I can't do it and do the live at the same time. But I would really like to know my answers to all these questions and see how they fare the following year, right? Did I hit? Where did Rebel hit? Where did Rebel miss? I think it would be great. And then I could throw that shit out there, and look like a dumbass or look like a genius. But anyways, my breakout guy. I have a couple of them. Honestly, I have a couple. I feel like Caleb Rogers is going to take that starting job, and I don't think he's going to let it go. I think he's going to be a bright spot for this team, right? I really do. I feel like Caleb Rogers is going to hold it down on the right side at the right guard position. You know, if I'm wrong, I'm wrong, but that's just what I feel. I know they still have Meredith. I know they have JPJ, right? Who's going to fit where? Who's going to what side? Nobody knows. The one thing that's guaranteed is Tyler Linderbaum's at center and Colton Miller's at, at the left bookend as long as he's healthy. So my biggest breakouts, I think it's going to be Caleb Rogers. I believe it's going to be Jack Besh. I think Jack Besh in a Clint Kubiak system can be 1,000-yard receiver. I think he's a guy that showed last year when you throw him the ball, he catches it, right? He has a big catch radius. He can win contested catches. I think with his size and his body, it doesn't matter if he's open because no matter how tight players are playing to him, which I seen on film last year, he still makes the catch. So he's going to be a guy that moves the chains, that picks up first downs. And I think he's going to be a big target as long as he's out there, right? And I don't know why he wouldn't be this year. I think they underplayed him last year, but I think Jack Besh is that guy. And then on the defense, I think Darian Porter. I really think this young man gets football, right? I think he's very knowledgeable when it comes to the sport, to be able to switch from receiver to corner and then be drafted as a corner in the third round says a lot for this man, right? You hear him speak, he's very intelligent. He's very, very, very fast. He has good hips. He's tall. He has the width, the length. So I think Darian Porter in this, I think Robbie Leonard's going to unleash this young man and let him go out there and play. And then I hope, like I said, there's a couple guys. So there's just two off the rip. We'll see on the rest of them. But Jack Besh, definitely, Caleb, and Darian Porter, I think, have big, big years. What else we got? Vikings. What about the Vikings? Tyler Murray? Did you know you eat paper towels daily? You don't have to wipe the fucking shit. That's pretty funny shit. Kind of dumb, but it's pretty funny though. Candy secretly likes the Vikings. Candy does not like the Vikings. Arnie Garza in the building with his question says, which player on the current roster will make 53 due to free agency and the draft? Which players on the current will make the 53-man roster? You're asking me now? Camp hasn't even started. You want me to name 53 guys? Oh, which guys? I mean, I don't know. I don't know who we're drafting, right? So it's kind of hard to say which guy makes the roster, who we're drafting. At a free agency, I mean, Tyler Linderbaum definitely makes the roster. Jalen Naylor definitely makes the roster. Maybe I'm misreading your question. Lawrence in the building. What's good, OG? Appreciate you. Jesus loves you. I hope he loves the Raiders, man. I hope he loves the Raiders and all the, all the worshiping in there and, all the faith in the building. Man, we can use some luck. So I hope he starts loving the Raiders and all those quarterbacks we got in the building. The Holy Trinity. All right, man. I could read these questions all day, but I got shit to talk about. I got to get through these. Sorry. Questions. Who on the current roster? Would you trade? Pick one. Who would you cut? Pick one. Who would you re-sign? Pick one. Arnie Garza got all the hard questions. You should write these down. All right. Who would I trade? It depends on who has the most value, right? If throughout camp it looks like Caleb Rogers has that spot and Jordan Meredith has the other spot, or JPJ has that spot and Caleb Rogers has that spot, it's always good to have a backup, but you never know. If one of these linemen just kill it in camp, you could go that route. But I don't really see a lot of players on the team worth trading. Maybe you trade Aiden O'Connell if you don't go with three quarterbacks. if teams come calling like they have the last couple drafts about Aiden O'Connell, maybe they want the draft capital. They're not, they don't have no plans for the future with him. Maybe they trade him. Other than that, I mean, I don't see teams beating down the door for Tyree Wilson. He hasn't really done a lot. Hopefully, he has a breakout year. I would love for him to have a breakout year, whether he stays with us or not. Just for his sake. So I don't really see a lot of players that we have on the roster to currently trade, right? I mean, let me know in the chat. Y'all, who would you trade? Who's on the roster that you feel has trade value? Because you don't just trade a guy to trade him, right? You got to have value, get something for it. Um, but yeah, let me know. I like I said, maybe one of those offensive linemen. That's about it. Maybe somebody calls for, Jonah Laulu. He's played pretty solid, right? If he's kind of fourth man in the rotation, in that three deep defensive line. But other than that, there's not really a lot of players people are going to be beating down the door saying, "Hey, give me this guy," right? Maybe a Michael Mayer, um, but I think they have plans for him. Who would I cut? Pick one. I don't even know who's really on the 53-man roster, but just looking at from what I did the other day, I really feel like it's a Dalton Wagner, not cut, but won't be on the 53-man. I think he'll be on the practice squad. Right now, he's currently listed on the 53. But I would love to see him stay on the 53. Other than that, man, I don't really see him cutting anybody. I mean, we'll have to go through the roster and who's on there. Of course, they got to cut a lot of guys. I mean, you're bringing in 90. You need to get down to 53 plus, 16 on the practice squad. So I don't see too many guys off the rip getting cut. I mean, until camp plays out. So that one I really can't answer. You stumped me. Who would I re-sign? Pick one. I mean, Aiden O'Connell, Michael Mayer, Tyree Wilson, and Trey Tucker. That's kind of hard to answer right now, too. I mean, if Trey Tucker has a breakout year, he had 600 yards last year, 92 catches on, or 52 catches on 96 attempts. Not great numbers, right? He had 5 touchdowns or something, I do believe. I mean, it just depends on how his year goes. Michael Mayer, do they draft a tight end this year? I hear a lot of talk about people saying they're going to draft a tight end this year. I don't know why you would. You have Carter Runyon, who I believe, is that guy in the waiting, right? So, I mean, I don't know. I don't know who I'd re-sign. The best out of those guys, for me, would be Aiden O'Connell. Because if you're planning on moving Fernando Mendoza to that starting role and him being the franchise guy next year, you're not paying Kirk Cousins $40 million. More than likely, he won't be on the team. And if that's the case, then you need a backup. And you might as well have a guy that's going to already know the system, knows the players, knows the buildings. So for me, it would be Aiden O'Connell, man. Okay, starting to write them. It's a long. Candy secretly likes the Vikings. She don't like him. Question: how confident are you in Colton Miller, JPJ playing a full season? Prediction on games played by each. Damn, Arnie Garza, you like the AI robot question machine. Nah, I love it, man. The greatest questions on earth, Arnie Garza, always. And if y'all have questions and you think you could top Arnie Garza's, get them in. Let's have a battle. let's battle it out. Makes my life so much easier, man. I love it when Arnie Garza is in the chats. Shout out to my guy. You need a free membership. All right, how confident am I in Colton Miller and JPJ playing a full season? Not very confident, man. I'm just not. The shoulder injury last year, then it was, the ankle injury last year, then it was the shoulder injury the year before, missed all of camp. came in and played the all of that year. But the age scares me, right? I've said this before. When you're that big, when you're 6'8", over 300 pounds, right? Injuries take a lot longer to heal. And Colton Miller's up there, man. He's been with the Raiders for what, 10 years now? 10 years he's been the starting left tackle. That's gonna wear on a man, right? Day in and day out, except for the time he's missed. So I hope to God Colton Miller stays healthy for a full season. I know it makes this team better. We all know it makes this team better. So I mean, I don't want to put a prediction on the games because I don't want to jinx it, bro. I don't want to jinx my guys. As far as JPJ's goes, damn, bro. I hope he plays the whole season too. But I've said this before about JPJ. Can he beat out Jordan Meredith and can he beat out Caleb Rogers? Right? We know he has the injury problem. We know he has concussions. We know he's physical. We know he has 14 penalties in a year and a half. Now he's young, he's learning. But Caleb Rogers played 4 games, and I don't believe he had but one penalty in those 4 games, right? So he's a little bit more disciplined, plays with his head on his shoulders instead of his hair on fire. And, I love Jackson Powers Johnson, but we've heard Kubiak talk about he needs smart players that don't hurt the team, right? And until Jackson Powers Johnson can prove that, hopefully he can this year and take that spot over Meredith. I would love to see that, but I like Meredith too. I think Meredith is a damn good guard, whether he's on the left or the right side. He's shown that as well. So I don't want to jinx either one of those players. I'm gonna say they both have full years and both of them play all 17 games. If JPJ can get it together and beat out Caleb Rogers or Jordan Meredith, or let's not forget about Burford. How you say that? Buford, Burford. That's another guy that knows Kubiak's system. He's gonna have a leg up on some of these guys. Maybe he starts right off the rip. Right? There's no guarantee. I know a lot of people have penciled in JPJ as the starter, but those same people penciled him in as the center last year, and I'll just leave it at that. And the year before. Questions. Mint, who is the bubble not making who is on the bubble not making the roster? I mean we can look that up. I got a phone right here. Let's see. What we got here? Let's go with our lads. They're pretty solid on the roster. Our lads Raiders. All right, man. You got it, Arnie Garza. So far, projections for the offense is Jack Bech, Trey Tucker, Jalen Naylor. Those are our 3 receivers. Colton Miller. Spencer Buford is penciled in as the starter. Tyler Lindenbaum and JPJ. DJ Glaze. Brock Bowers. Kirk Cousins is now moved up to the starting role with Aiden O'Connell as the backup. That may or may not change as the draft goes. Then you have Ashton Genty with Dylan Labe behind him and Chris Collier. So those are the guys right there. And then at fullback, you have Connor Hayward. A fullback. A fullback. The Raiders got a fullback. And we might draft another one. All right, I got to calm down. Calm down. Behind them are... Come on, man. What the hell? All right. The backups projected as we speak and as it stands right now. Dante Thornton. Cedric Jackson. Ooh, I love that. Derek Young. Charles Grant. Jordan Meredith. Will Putnam. Caleb Rogers. Dalton Wagner. Michael Mayer, Aiden O'Connell, and Dylan Labe. We already said that. Um, Third string, and these are, I don't know, this is the whole roster. Um, you have Philip Dorsett, Justin Shorter. He's not on the team still, is he? I'll have to look. I'll have to double check that. Antonio Maffei, Layden Robinson. I keep forgetting about Layden Robinson. What could he do? Miles Joseph, another right tackle that I keep forgetting about. Joseph Miles, my bad. Ian Thomas, who they just re-signed. Chris Collier, we talked about that. That's going to change. I believe they draft a running back. Brendan Rice is still on there. McClendon Curtis is the left guard. And then Lackey Tassie is another guy that, man, if Lackey Tassie breaks out this year, who could take his job? Who's taking his job? Nobody is moving that man off the right guard spot. Not even Caleb Rogers, in my opinion. So that's going to be fun to watch. And then on defense, man, and then I'll tell you who I believe is on the bubble. Um, Tyree Wilson, Adam Butler, Jonah Laulu, Quiddy Payne at the left outside linebacker, Quay Walker at the wheel, N'Kobe Dean at the mic, Crosby at the right outside, Eric Stokes left, Jeremy Chin, Isaiah Palamau. That'll probably change too. We'll see. Darian Porter. And then a guy a lot of people have not talked about is Terrion Johnson, right? The nickel we got from Buffalo. Does he play the can he help play a corner spot? Can he beat out one of these young guys with his experience like a Darian Porter? You know, those are all things main to be seen, right? Too. They brought him in for a reason. And then backups, you got Tonka Hemingway. I believe he makes the roster. We'll just go like that. Tonka Hemingway, I believe, makes this roster. JJ Pegues, Thomas Booker, Charles Snowden, Tommy Eichenberg, Cody Lindenberg, Malcolm Kuntz, DeCamarion Richardson. That's a question right there, right? How do they feel about DeCamarion Richardson? A guy that's lengthy, has speed, was drafted in the third round, has not lived up to those third round expectations because he hasn't been able to get on the grass. I blame it a lot on the coaching staff. Where does DCAM fit in? A guy that Mike could be on the bubble. We'll say that. We'll put him on the bubble. Tristan McCollum, they just re-signed. So he makes this roster, I feel, unless they draft a safety that, takes that spot. Chagazi, Chagazi Anusim is another guy at that right corner spot that I really, really liked last year. Now they have him at the right corner, but I think he could play the nickel. I really do. So we have to watch out on that guy. And then Greedy Vance, right? Greedy Vance is a guy that when he was in there, being a UDFA, I thought he showed me a lot, right? Not afraid to tackle, got to work on his coverage, got to know zone scheme, but man to man, right? If you let him press, he was all right. He was solid as hell. So I really like Greedy Vance. I think another guy that, depending on how they go in this draft, right, could be on the bubble. Not a guy you're going to leave on the practice squad because somebody's going to snatch him up, I feel. And then Broderick Martin, a nose tackle that a lot of people are still forgetting about. And my guy that I hope makes this damn roster, whether, I hope he makes the roster, bro. I don't know how. I don't think they're going to keep 10 defensive linemen because they might be in, 3, 4, 30% of the time or more or less. Depends. But Trevin May, man. Trevin May I is a guy that I had the Raiders, picking in the draft. Well, they took him as a UDFA. They didn't actually pick him, but he made the team. He stuck around, through the years. And I do think they signed him to a future contract recently. I'm not positive on that. But that's a guy at defensive tackle that, they were playing him at the 5 technique when he was getting in the games in preseason. So guy you can move around. I think he can move all around. Physical, loves to win at the point of attack, right? Strong hands. We'll see what they do with him. And then the fourth linebacker is Brendan Jackson, a guy that they brought over from the Rams, who before he got injured, looked like he was doing okay in practices. on special teams, right? So, I mean, the Raiders have a lot of players, bro. I think a lot of people are sleeping on this team. Not all these guys are, standout names. They're all not number one draft picks. Well, sometimes you find talent UDFAs. I mean, just look around the NFL. How many UDFAs are actually starting right now? There's a lot, bro. We just traded one, I do believe, right? Last year, a receiver. So these guys hit more times than not. And I said this before. If you look at the Patriots, I do believe they had one starter at tackle that was a number one pick, and then the rest of that offensive line, I believe, were fifth round draft picks from different teams. So they made it to the damn Super Bowl with four fifth round draft picks. You can find talent in these later rounds. It's just about drafting the right guys and the right characters. So it's hard to say who makes this roster and who doesn't. I mean, that's a lot of bodies. Let's see, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32. That's 32 players on defense. And 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18, 20, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32, 33, 34, 35, and 35 on offense. So, damn, we still only got like 70 guys. So, these questions are a little early, Arnie Garza. I love them, but just a little early on those questions, man. There's a lot of guys on this roster that I really think can surprise some people, like the DeCamarion Richardson, like I said, like Chugazi that we got from Arizona. Just one of those physical dudes that I don't know what his size or anything is. Hands. Let's see if it shows me anything on here. Um, yeah, man, 6'1", 200 pounds, right? Physical at the point of attack. Like I said, I love him for that heart. He was the one that got tackled a guy out of bounds, and the whole team was over there, pushing and shoving. He was scrapping on the sidelines, had to hold each other's face mask and shit. I love that intensity. Love those type of dogs. Hope he makes the roster. Um, but let's get into it, man. 30 minutes into it. Why the Las Vegas Raiders will be feared around the NFL. And I'm going to give you my 10 reasons. Y'all go ahead and keep commenting. I'll catch up to the comments in a minute. I know I'm pretty far behind. We'll stop right there, hopefully. Raiders going to be 5-12 next year. I wouldn't be mad at it. I wouldn't be mad at it. I wouldn't be mad if they were 12-5 either. All right, let's go to this. So, where the hell are my notes? Fuck my life. I did not save it, you cocksucker. All right, I got it saved over here somewhere. Time out. All right, here we go. That's not it either. Son of a bitch. Bear with me, bro. Predictions: Chargers versus Bears Super Bowl. 9-8. I'll take 9-8, bro. Wilson, our top guy to trade. But what value? Are you really going to trade a first overall pick for a seventh or a sixth round? I think that's a nightmare, bro. That's a nightmare. And I believe Tyree Wilson is worth more than a seventh or a sixth. Now he hasn't shown it, but he really hasn't had the opportunity or the team. When Max Crosby's not out there, he plays way better, right? When he's that guy. So maybe it would be best to trade him. Maybe he would be that guy on another team. That's hard to say, but very hard to say. But I just don't think the value is there for Tyree. That's the only problem. I'll recreate this image making with the fudge. All right, here we go. That's better. All right, man. What else we got? Max Crosby thoughts. Go Birds. Thoughts on what? There's there's still a huge chance that he's not on this team by the trading deadline. If he goes and balls out, some people, well, I'm sure, you know, I don't know where our bye week is, but the trading deadline, if he's balling out and there's teams that, feel like they're just that edge guy away, maybe they'll throw 2 first rounds, right? But the Raiders aren't moving off of him unless it's 2 first rounds. They keep saying he's a Raider for life. I'm just not buying it. I'm not buying it. I'll believe it when I see it. AOC trade Michael Mayer, re-signed Meredith, um, re-signed Meredith cut, but AOC trade. I don't know, man. We'll see. We'll see. I think AOC's still got value. Definitely on the Raiders, he's got value. OMG, I can't do it anymore. I can't do it anymore either. Um, Gifted 5 memberships. Who got one? It wasn't Arnie Garza. Damn it. They re-signed Ian Thomas. Yeah, I hear a lot of takes about Ian Thomas is going to help the run game. I seen that man actually absolutely get put on his back by a corner last year, and a couple linebackers. Not even messing with offensive linemen. So I'm just not buying Ian Thomas. I think he's just a body for right now. You know, he played okay for us. He has some okay catches. Just I just don't think he's that guy. I would rather have Carter Runyon in there any day of the week. RAS scores off the charts. Very athletic, very physical, can block. Has that thicker body. I like Carter Runyon. I'm just a Carter Runyon guy, I guess. But my top 10 reasons why I feel the Raiders should be feared by the AFC West and every team that they play this year and next year and possibly the year after that, right? Um, but here we go. This is why I'm gonna tell you why. All right, I wrote down. All right, where'd my note go? Damn it. Under the new coaching staff and the leadership from guys like Crosby, I mean, if he's still there, right? The Raiders have regained their villain identity. And I believe that's 100%, right? You got guys, like I said, Greedy Vance, physical corner. You got Isaiah Palomau, a physical safety that's going to, knock the soul out of people. You have still Max Crosby. You bring in guys like Quay Walker. Guys like N'Kobe Dean, guys like Quiddy Payne, right? These guys are physical guys. And it's kind of, bringing that identity back for the Raiders. That villain, physical. We don't want to play this team. We sure the hell don't want to play them in their house. Hopefully, Allegiant Stadium will turn a lot more silver and black than it is every other team's color this year. And I feel like opening day, I don't know if you can get tickets to the Raiders game if you're an away team. I feel like it could be sold out, right? And we'll see. So Raider Nation, show up, show out. But yeah, you got guys like Crosby. They play physical, intimidating brand of football that wears teams down by the fourth quarter. And I believe that's going to be a fact, right? This offensive line is going to be physical. They're going to have 2 running backs. They're going to run the shit out of the ball. They're going to be in 12 personnel with Michael Mayer's big body and Brock Bowers just leaning and wearing on people, right? You have big offensive linemen like Cody Linderbaum, and you have guys like Colton Miller and DJ Glaze, or whoever ends up winning that battle. So I believe it's going to be a different style, right? I feel like if you listen to the interview with my guy Robbie Leonard, not a lot of people are buying into Robbie Leonard or believing it, and I'm still, that guy from the Show Me State, Missouri, right? Not from Missouri, but right beneath it. So Robbie Leonard, if you listen to what he said, man, he's physical. He wants to blitz. He wants to, you know, be able to win with that front seven or the front four or the front three or whatever it is, right? And be able to play bump and run or man on the backside, right? So a lot of things from Robbie, all of Rob Leonard's interviews. I think he's had like 3 so far out there. So go check him out. 2 with the Raiders. One was Damn it, I can't remember right off the rip. But go check out Robbie Leonard, man. The interviews, listen to this man talk. Very intelligent. You can tell by the way he speaks, right? He was an underdog all his life, a guy that was told, he couldn't play, end up playing safety. Then they tried to move him to linebacker right at 190 pounds. So he's got that grit in him. That tells you everything you need to know of a guy that they said couldn't play, at Division Two, and he went and played safety. And then they tried to move him to linebacker. That tells you about his, mental toughness, his physicality, his will to win. Obviously, being 190 pounds says a lot about Rob Leonard. And I believe this team, your team takes after your head coach. And when you got a guy, if you look at Rob Leonard, any times at the practices, at the games, he's out there getting on guys' ass, man. He gets into guys. He's not afraid to get on guys, and they know it's just coming out of love, right? And that makes a big difference. So I believe this Raiders, we'll start calling it the death row defense. It's a death row defense because I think they're just going to be physical as hell. I really do. I think we have corners that, like I said, can play physical. We have safeties that can play physical. We have, a couple box safeties, not a lot, but I believe Isaiah Palomal is that guy. Number 9, the vertical speed. Vertical speed, right? Al Davis loved vertical speed. Those fast guys that can, run down the field 100,000 miles an hour and just burn guys. And we have a lot of those. We have a lot of those. One that's 6'5". We have guys that are 5'9". We have some that are 5'10" that are blazers. We have speed. And then you have Brock Bowers, who is deceptionally fast. Ask anybody that's played against him. They say, what's the biggest thing you take away from playing Brock Bowers you didn't know until you faced him? His speed. They all say his speed. His physicality we see on tape, but his speed, he's deceptively fast. So you got a tight end like that. And then you bring in, guys like Trey Tucker, Brandon Rice, Cedric Jackson. I mean, I think everybody in the room runs a damn 4.2 or a 4.3. They're all track guys. So the Raiders are building something special here, and I think people are sleeping on it. It's going to take time to develop. Yes, I believe it will. But I'm trying not to get, overexcited and get expectations. But man, I bleed this shit, bro. I love this team. So, you know, just going over and looking at this roster and looking at the coaches, just this is the shit that I wrote down, and I feel like it's, it could be very, very special for years to come if it works out, right? With the veteran Cousins, if he's under center, or Mendoza or AOC, I feel it doesn't matter. The Raiders are can finally utilize their track stars. There's a ton of them. I just mentioned all of them. Brendan Rice, son of the GOAT Jerry Rice, right? Keep safeties 20 yards back, open up the intermediate routes, and then let Brock Bowers and Ashton Genty just cook and wear teams down. So another reason defenses and teams around the league are going to be, should be shaking in their shoes every time they play this team. And again, it takes the time for the offensive line to gel. But we have guys in the building that were willing to go out and work on their own time to try to get better because the coaching staff was so bad last year. To me, that speaks miles of volumes. Number 8 is the Georgia connection. The Georgia connection, right? Pairing Nakobe Dean and Quay Walker, two guys that, played together in college. They stayed in contact throughout their time in the NFL, right? They're damn good friends. When you have that communication playing side by side in the NFL, man, teams are going to be, y'all better watch out. I'm just saying. So the Raiders have imported a championship level chemistry in the middle of their defense. Sideline to sideline speed, can shut down screens, can run outside, can stop outside runs. All things that used to kill this team, bro. Kill this team. I think will change this year. This year. Not in the years to past. I'm thinking this year on a defense. Saying hunger. The fact of losing. We hear Max Crosby talk about all the time. He just wants to win. If you can get guys like that to all buy in, where they just want to win and will do anything to win, this team could be can sneak up on some people. So that was number 8. Nakobe Dean and Quay Walker, I think they mean the world to this team. I've been saying for years, a lot of people have been saying for years, you got to have speed at the linebacker position. You can't leave your guys in mismatches from your mic, from your outside, whether it's, whether they're playing the Will or the Sam or outside linebacker in the 3-4, right? It doesn't matter. You got to have speed, and we have speed. We have physicality and intelligence at that position, right? So they're going to stop a lot of, these dumbass plays that have screens that have gone for 40 yards in the past. Hopefully go for losses, right? And I believe that's going to help this team tremendously. If guys can bust out, right? This is number 7. If guys can bust out, like Charles Snowden, who has shown flashes, Tyree Wilson, who has shown flashes, right? If these guys, Malcolm Kuntz, who's shown flashes, had a rough year, but towards the end of the season, you start to see Malcolm Kuntz start to come on a little bit, right? He was starting to get in the backfield. He was starting to disrupt shit. He was starting to make it hard for opposing offenses. Now, we didn't win a lot of those games, but I don't really believe we were trying, right? But on the defensive wise, if Malcolm Kuntz, Crosby, is going to have a chip on his shoulder. This dude's coming out like a damn thief in the night, right? Trying to rob everybody, every quarterback of everything out there. So, you got Crosby, you got Malcolm Kuntz, you got Kwity Paye, you got, like I said, Charles Snowden, right? Tyree Wilson. This is going to take a lot of the load off of Max Crosby if these guys can just win, right? Do their 111, win their one-on-ones, put pressure on the quarterback, don't get beat in the screen or the run game, right? If you can set the outside, if you can play the, which all these guys can, another reason why this team can be nasty, right? And hopefully Malcolm Kuntz can, develop into a legitimate threat on the outside, creating that pick your poison scenario that I've talked about for the last 3 years on this damn team with Malcolm Kuntz and Max Crosby. But it's, Malcolm Kuntz has a great year. Crosby, okay, has some injuries. Then Crosby gets hurt. Then Malcolm Kuntz gets hurt, right? They've never really had a chance except the 1 year that Malcolm Kuntz had 8 sacks. Crosby had his best season in a long, long time. I think he had 12.5 that year, I do believe. His second highest total as a Raider, because you had somebody on the other end that was, taking pressure off, and you had to compensate for that guy over there on that side. And hopefully with Kwity Paye, with Malcolm Kuntz, with Tyree Wilson, with Charles Snowden, they can emulate that and take some of the pressure off of Max Crosby. And, if those guys can double in, develop into that legitimate pass threat, and Malcolm Kuntz can learn, to contain his side and stop the run, which he's had a problem doing. Let's be honest, Malcolm Kuntz is not the best in the run game. But hopefully he can work on that. And I believe Travis Smith is going to be a big, big part of that, right? I've talked about this on this channel before. Not a lot of people see him, but it is what it is. Share the video, get it out there, let people know, man. I've been saying this for a long, long time, right? We have, what the hell just happened? Sorry, I don't know what I just did. But I've been saying this for a while, man. It's, you gotta limit Max Crosby's reps, and the only way you can do that is have guys that can step up and the drop off not be so far. So I believe we're at that point. And Travis Smith, I said this before. He's a guy that developed Khalil Mack into what he was, right? Ask Khalil Mack. He'll tell you, he said, I believe he said on interviews, of what he meant to his development as a pass rusher and being able to, drop back and be that linebacker in coverage. He's also a big part of why Max Crosby is who Max Crosby is, right? So he's developed a lot of guys, not only with the Raiders, but he was with the Raiders for a long, long time. So having him back in the building, knowing how to get the best out of these guys, I think is crucial for guys like Malcolm Kuntz, for guys like Tyree Wilson, right? For these young guys like Charles Snowden. I believe this man's going to get the best out of these guys. And Robbie Leonard, being the defensive coach, was the D line coach. Him and Smith are going to have, I believe, a connection that's going to make this defensive front nasty. Mark my words, nasty. And then number 6, why defenses or why NFL teams should be scared and shaking in their boots and terrified of the Las Vegas Raiders is, of course, the Condor. The Condor, man. He remains relentless. We know what he does in the backfield, tackles for a loss, taking on double teams. And if he gets double teamed with Quiddy Payne and Malcolm Kuntz and these guys on the other side, if they can, develop into those guys under Smith, which I believe they will, then, that just lets Crosby eat, bro. That just lets Crosby eat with his motor. So, he doesn't want to take a single play off, right? And just that Max Crosby effect, his energy in the building is going to make all the guys around him better. We keep saying that. It hasn't, maybe it has, but we haven't seen it on the field, whether he's made guys better around him, right? Malcolm Kuntz had one good year. Tyree still hasn't, shown out. Max Crosby has worked with Tyree Wilson every single day in practice. You see them one-on-one, but it's not translating. Is it Tyree Wilson? Is it the way Max Crosby teaches, right? We don't know. But that Max Crosby effect of him going to the other side, of seeing what it's like in a Baltimore Ravens stadium and looking at their facilities and seeing how he has it here, I think is going to light a fire under his ass. We know he wants to win a championship, and I think he was fed a bunch of bullshit last year with Pete Carroll coming in the building. Just like we were. I've won 10 games every year, right? We don't have that this year, but silence, silent killer, right? Don't always let everybody know your plans or what you're about to do, because people will take your shit and run with your dreams. So I love the fact that the Raiders are being very, very quiet, about their plans, about their 30-man visits. They're doing Zoom calls with guys without announcing it, right? Like the couple years before, the Raiders will have a Zoom call with this guy. The Raiders will have a top 30 visit with this guy at this time and this date. This year, it's a little bit more under the table, kept in-house where it should be. So let me get to this real quick. Mike LT, welcome to the Raider Unleashed Militia, Silver and Black, no BS. Welcome to the militia. Edward Morgan, welcome to the militia. Dom123 and Jason Marshall, welcome to the militia. Hope y'all show up in some lives. Coach Sterling, appreciate it. Welcome to the militia. Dixon Sider, welcome to the militia. I thought it was only 5. How many guys? Dang. Sonny Sammy, USA 547. And Nutty Nate 420. My guy. I need to get him on the show. Welcome to the Unleashed Militia. So shout out to myself for gifting 5 memberships to everybody. Lobby, Meredith, Snowden, Dalton, Richardson are all on the bubble. I don't know if there's a spot for Dylan Lobby. I figured I just had a feeling the Raiders were going to draft that, right? That was one of the draft picks I called. I was like, man, there's no way Dylan Lobby is not a Raider. Just looking at the way the coaching staff talked and think. But then they didn't use him to any of his strengths, man. The kid had one play, one fumble, and never got another chance. He did some things on special teams. I don't believe he will be a kickoff returner or a punt returner this year. I think we have way too many guys now that we brought in, right? And Derek that we brought in and Naylor. I think there's going to be a battle. I really feel there's going to be a battle for that kickoff return spot and that punt return spot. And then they might even go and draft some guys, like a Zachariah Branch. Please, please, please. like a Zachariah Branch that can be that kickoff returner or punt returner. So yes, Dylan Labe, I believe is definitely on the bubble. Unless Kubiak falls in love with this young man and says, we got to keep him on the roster. I can work with him. He can catch out of the backfield, right? Not too many people are going to be expecting him to catch out of the backfield. So we'll see. We'll see how it goes. Stephen Solobim, my guy, what's good? What's good? Damn, I tried. It didn't work. Tried what? What'd you try? Effort counts, boo. Question. In the second round, stuck between Cooper Lamo, Cade McDonald. Who are you picking? If it's Omar Cooper, there's no question about it. You're taking Omar Cooper. He's a first round pick. There's no way he slides to the second round, and if he does, you got to take full advantage of teams not being able to draft because Omar Cooper is a first round pick. So if Coop's on the board, taking him. Lamo, he's way lower on my board than a lot of people. Maybe he'll be that guy in the NFL if they move him to maybe like a center position, but I don't think he's heavy enough to play guard. I don't think he's heavy. I don't think he has, you know, the weight, the ass in anchor to play tackle at the next level. So I'm out on that. Cade McDonald, you know, I like Cade McDonald, but I'm not using a second round pick on a defensive tackle, nose tackle, or three tech, whatever he plays. I don't know exactly every position he plays, and if I say it wrong, I will be attacked in the comments. So, um, you know, like the spelling police. So I mean, I don't know. I don't know. All the positions McDonald plays. I know he's solid. I know he can get to the quarterback, stop the run. But are you spending a second round on that guy when Omar Cooper's there? Hell no. So I'm out on Lamo. He's not even on my top 30 board. What else we got? What else we got? Rebel, drink some water, please. Is it that far from when I was coughing? I'm still that far behind. Lord have mercy. What's up? Those Stephen. All right, I gotta get to these and not read them all. If you want to get technical, if my friend Marcus, uh, what? What are we talking about? Roro? Do you want to be on Jerry Springer show? Do I? No. No. Rebel is usually 25 to 25. Rebel is usually 25 on 20, 25 on offense, 25 on defense, three special teams to make the 53. Not usually. Not usually. If you look at it last year, I do believe we had like 31 defensive players and a lot less on offense. So it just depends, right? You're going to put the best 53 out there. If if 35 of those guys are on the offensive side, you probably want them on your roster. I don't know why you would need 35 guys on your offensive roster. More than likely you're going to need those on the defense, right? The defense subs in probably, in my opinion, more than the offense, right? You usually have your starters, you run out with those guys. You have your playmakers on offense, and then on defense, you have sub packages a lot more than you do on offense. So I feel like you need more defensive guys, in my opinion. Question: would you draft a kicker in the later rounds to compete for gay? To compete for gay? um, I would draft. Why do I keep saying again? It's pissing me off. I feel like Josh McDaniels. Damn, wore off on me. I like that one kicker, the Jaffe whatever. If that dude's available, I would take that dude. Shit, a kicker that can kick 70-yard field goals at ease, right? I'm taking that dude in the second round. Al Davis would. I'm just saying. So yes, definitely draft a kicker. We need competition at every position on this team, man. This team needs competition. So yes, yes. Looking at the roster, need running back, linebacker, wide receiver, nose tackle. True or false? top needs of the draft after Mendoza gets picked. I say false, Arnie Garza. I say false. I think the number one top needs, we need a running back, but I don't think they're gonna. I really don't feel like they swing for a running back in the third or fourth round, maybe the fourth round because we have 3 picks. If they feel there's a guy in the fourth that contributes to this team, I could see him taking one there. Um, Nose tackle, I really don't think nose tackle is a need. I think people are overvaluing the nose tackle position because they think we're in a four, in a 3-4, and you need a true nose. But like I said, that 3-4 is more than likely going to be less than 30% of the time. Most of the time, you're going to be in sub packages, probably a lot more nickel, a lot more zone. So I don't really think there's a need for a nose tackle. I feel like with the guys we have, somebody can play nose tackle 30% of the time, bro. So I don't think nose tackle is a big need. I would probably take one of those, if somebody's there in the third, cool. But I wouldn't go second or third round nose tackle. I wouldn't go second or third round running back. If there's a linebacker there in the third, probably, you know, I just don't see him taking one there either. I feel like Nakobe Dean and Quay Walker are going to be those linebackers in the middle and on the outside for a long, long time. And again, a lot of people keep saying we need more linebackers because we're going to be in that 3-4, and you're thinking 4 linebackers, right? But again, a lot of times they're probably, like Coach said, they're going to be running that 4-2-5 package, which means 2 linebackers. We have 2. Nakobe Dean and Quay Walker. Those are going to be the 2 dudes on the field no matter what. And any sub package, any package, I feel those guys play a lot of snaps and they don't come off the field. So I don't think linebacker, we don't know what we have in Tommy Eichenberg. He's shown flashes. Cody Lindenberg, we don't know what we have him. He shows flashes. You have Jamin Davis, that was a former first round pick. I believe pick 17 or 19 in the NFL draft a couple years ago. He was in the same draft that Eric Stokes and Quiddy Payne were in. They all happen to be on our team now. They were all taken in the first round. We have a lot of former first rounders, man. If we can get the best out of these former first round picks, this team is nasty. So no, I don't feel like running back, linebacker, and receiver or nose tackle. I agree with you at wide receiver. But I don't think that's a huge need either. I mean, like I said, you have a 4-3 guy in Dante Thornton. You have a 4-2 guy in Cedric Jackson. You have a 4-3 or a 4-4 guy in Naylor. You have a 4-3? Was he 4-2 or 4-3? In Trey Tucker. Bro, that's a lot of speed, man. That's a lot of speed. So if you draft a guy, I'm looking at a Denzel Boston. If Denzel Boston is sitting there in the second round at pick 33, I see the Raiders jumping up to get him. I wouldn't be surprised if he's there at pick 30 if they could sneak in there without it costing too much, to go get a guy like Denzel Boston there. We have a lot of speed. We need that physical guy. I believe Jack Bech can be that guy. But I don't know if he's, what they feel about Jack Bech. So wide receiver might not be as big as of a need as people seem to think, right? You have Kirk Cousins in the building. If he's the guy, he's got, plenty of time or a little bit enough time with Jalen Naylor. If Aiden O'Connell's the guy, he knows every receiver in the building so far except Jalen Naylor and Derek Young, right? He knows all the other guys. So I feel like we might be sleeping on that too, wide receiver. That might not be as big of a need as possible. Again, you have to know if you're going to make a meal, what you're cooking so you know what to buy at the store. And we don't know. We don't know what any of these receivers are. Cedric Jackson, I mean, this guy could come out and be, the next Tim Brown. We don't know, right? Brendan Rice, he could come out and be, maybe it clicks for him this year and he becomes his father and becomes a dominant wide receiver for many, many moons to come, right? We don't know until we get in camp and we see what we have with these guys. So I think our needs are mainly, in my opinion, our biggest need is safety. Our second biggest need is a slot corner. We don't know who's playing that slot corner. We didn't know who was playing it last year. We don't know who's playing it this year, right? We went and got in the dude from Buffalo, Jerron Johnson, I was talking about, right? It says he's going to be that nickel type guy, but in the slot, we don't have a true slot guy. So I would like for them to fill the slot position and go get a free safety that can cover side to side, that can be physical, that can break up passes, that can make plays. So I think corner and safety is our biggest needs right now, and a right tackle competition, right? We hear all the talk about Charles Grant moving over to right tackle. I don't think the Raiders are going to do that. To me, it just makes no sense. You drafted this guy to be the replacement for Colton Miller. Let's keep him the replacement for Colton Miller and work at that position, right? There's no reason to move him over to another spot. What happens, like you said? How long is Colton Miller going to play this season? How many games does he make it, right? You don't want to have the guy you brought in to take his place playing right tackle. If something happens, then you got to take him from right tackle, and you got to find a plug in um, for right tackle. So to me, it doesn't make sense. I believe Charles Grant was drafted to be the next bookend left tackle for many, many moons to come. And I feel like that's where they keep him. So to me, right tackle, you need competition for DJ Glaze. I don't know if Dalton Wagner is enough competition for DJ Glaze. And I feel like you just need a little bit more comp for DJ Glaze and Dalton Wagner. We also have that one cat that I forgot to mention, that I mentioned earlier. I keep forgetting his name. So to me, biggest needs: safety, corner, and yes, a running back, but probably later in the rounds. And another linebacker wouldn't hurt to develop, behind N'Kobe Dean and Quay Walker. I think that would, just be planning ahead, make sense. Jason Ruiz makes no sense. What did Jason Ruiz say? Do you want to be on the streets? I don't know. Rebel, do you see Wilson being in the Rebel? Do you see Wilson being in the 3-4? I do. I do. I feel like he's that perfect guy, right? He doesn't have the quickest get off. Um, you can eat up double teams in the middle with those long ass arms. He's got what, almost an 80-inch reach for Tyree Wilson. So he's strong, dude. He's physical. He's got a damn good reach. Why can't you plug him in at nose? Why can't you plug him in at nose? He's got, he's 280 or whatever he is. Shit, pack on another 20 more pounds on this dude. Get him on a diet, put him at nose. But man, you can put him at the 2 technique. I think he can play there. 3 technique. Like I said, not the fastest get off. He's got to learn some more moves. But we'll see where they use him. They definitely are not putting him, you know, I don't see him being the right outside linebacker in the 3-4, backing up Malcolm Kuntz or anybody like that. So I'm curious to see what they do with Tyree Wilson. I think he'll be with one of those guys with his hands in the dirt when we're in a 3-4, if he's out there. I feel like they have a lot more guys that could be out there with their hand in the dirt, like Tonka Hemingway, like J.J. Pegues, like Jonah Laulu, like Thomas Booker. Hopefully Matthew Butler is healthy this year. What round can we draft Washington to back up Genty? Which Washington? Washington who? Be more specific. You gotta elaborate a little bit. And then I need to get to my rest of my reasons. Mr. Dark Horse, Adam Randell. Running back. What? My Dark Horse, Adam Randell. I like Adam Randell. I wouldn't mind him being on the Raiders at all. I think he could help this team have a 1-2 punch. I'd be straight with that. Um, Branch wide receiver, Carlone nose tackle, AJ Halsey free safety. I'll mess with that all day, Arnie Garza. I like them a lot. I like them a lot. I wouldn't mind Carlone at nose tackle, right? That's a guy that you could probably get, like I said, in the fourth round, maybe late third, depending on how this draft goes. I don't know. But I think probably in the middle rounds, like a day two prospect, somewhere in day two, you can get Carlone to fill that nose. When you're in a 3-4, that's a great idea. I'll be down with that. And if they don't draft AJ Halsey and he's on the board, I'm gonna be pretty pissed. I wouldn't be surprised if they can't trade back. If they do trade back, I feel like AJ Halsey's the pick, right? If you're somewhere in the second round, a lot of teams have him projected as a third round guy, but I don't feel like the Raiders are going to pass on him. So if AJ Halsey's there, um, I feel like he's got to be the guy. He's got to be the guy. So Arnie Garza, if we get Adam Randall, and damn, if we get Adam Randall, Zachariah Branch, Carlone, and Halsey, bro, that's a hell of a draft. I'm good with that. I'm good with that right there. Bringing the rest could be bodies. Let's bring that high energy this year. Facts. Shout out for the $2 smackaroozle. Appreciate you. Ready for a 4-13 season. Bronco country. Go Ravens. Fuck you mean? No, I'm not ready for a 4-13 season. I predict we stomp the Broncos twice this year, and we're gonna put a damper in your playoff hopes. That's my prediction. I predicted last year we were going to beat the Chiefs twice. We only beat them once. We got smoked the other time. It was not a good prediction. If your president keep doing this stupid stuff, you might not have football. Jeffrey Walker, we do not talk politics in this chat, but you have a damn good point. You have a damn good point. I agree 100 million, thousand, trillion times, trillion percent. If our president don't get his head out of his ass, we might not have anything. Football, electricity, fucking YouTube. Um, but that's all I gotta say about that. We'll get off the subject. Question. We are so weak at free safety. Who is the free safety in this draft? You already said it. Halsey. Halsey is the guy. But let me get through this, and I'll give you my top 7 guys, minus the 2 top guys, and Caleb Downs and Thieneman. We'll take away those top 2 out of the equation. Neither one of them make it to anywhere the Raiders are going to be in the second round. We'll take those out of the equation. But number 5 reason why NFL teams should be scared of the Las Vegas Raiders this season. The Raiders are building the Great Wall of Vegas. Not China, the Great Wall of Vegas. With Tyler Lindenbaum at center solidifying the interior, and then you have Colton Miller, a bookend, and then you have a guy like JPJ or possibly Jordan Meredith, more than likely Caleb Rogers on the right guard spot. I'm going to keep throwing that out there because I just don't feel like anybody can beat this young man at the right guard spot after he's had a whole nother offseason under his belt. Yes, you're learning a new system, but I feel like just from the preseason, he picked up that garbage system we were running last year really, really fast. So watch out for Caleb Rogers. But yeah, with Tyler Lindenbaum and Colton Miller and JPJ and Meredith or, whoever, Caleb Rogers, Charles Grant out there, or whoever it decides to be. Like I said, I just don't think they move him to the right spot. But I think this offensive line is very solid. Very, very solid. The Raiders now actually have a front 5 that can actually protect any quarterback that's out there, right? Because they don't have to switch it up from a running quarterback to a pocket passer. One guy that, takes 3.5 seconds to throw, another guy that throws the ball with 2.5 seconds, right? All these guys have a quick release. They get the ball out fast. I believe Aiden and Mendoza are faster than Cousins at getting the ball out quickly. I think he likes to stay in the pocket a lot and hold the ball, but that's a video for another time. So, I think this offensive line, like I said, can protect whoever's out there. Mendoza, O'Connell, Cousins, and and open lanes for the running game, right? The biggest thing I'll take away from the first interview Kirk Cousins did with Amber Theo Harris, uh, he said Ashton Jeanty is going to be huge in Clint Kubiak's offensive scheme, the wide zone scheme, right? It's going to be huge. He might take a while to know when to hit that cutback, right? Or when to hit those cuts. But I don't think it's going to take too much time, right? And Clint Kubiak talked about how every running back has had success in a Kubiak system. Well, Ashton Jeanty had success in one of the worst systems in all of football, maybe in the history of football last year when it came to our offense. It was definitely the ugliest offense I've ever seen. And Ashton Jeanty still prevailed. Just barely missed 1,000 yards. 10 touchdowns, 5 rushing, 5 receiving. Say what you want about this young man, but he persevered and was a bright spot on a horrible, horrible offense. Now, just imagine the next year where he starts to click and he realizes when he needs to cut, when he needs to bounce it, when he needs to bend it, and when he needs to blast through that hole. And when he gets that, this young man is going to be dangerous because you can't tackle him with the first guy. You can't tackle him with the second guy. Yes, I know when you hit him in the backfield, as soon as he gets the ball, the only thing he's thinking about, or the only thing you're thinking about as a running back, I know because I played for a school that had a very bad offensive line. And unless I made something happen, we were getting murdered in the run game. So as soon as you catch the ball and there's guys in your face, the only thing you're thinking about is protect the ball, right? You already know you're losing yardage. You don't have a chance. So Ashton Jeanty did not have a chance. He will have a chance this year. And this run game, this ground game is going to pave the way for our offense. Mark my words. So that's number 5. Number 4 might be one of the biggest, right? Might be one of the biggest. Brock Bowers, the nightmare matchup, right? The nightmare matchup. Brock isn't just a tight end. We know that. He's the focal point. And a lot of people keep saying, we need that number 1 X receiver. But do we really, if Brock is going to be the focal point again? If you have Brock Bowers and Jack Besh as your focal points of guys with the catch radius that can win, that can win the contested catches, and then you have speed around them, come on, man. It's a nightmare for defenses. You're going to have to choose what you do. Do you double and let one-on-one with the speed? Do you play zone? What do you do? What do you do? So Brock Bowers is going to be a nightmare. Definitely the focal point. Defenses should be terrified. He's too fast for linebackers. We already know he's too strong for corners. And he's going to be moved all over this offense, right? I feel like Brock is still going to be, the focal point of this offense. And with Kubiak, what I write down? Yeah, he's going to be moved all over the offensive formation to exploit, the weakest link in the defense. And when you have a guy that's moving around pre-snap motion, you're gonna have to tell, right? Are you in man? Are you in zone? Because you're going to have to worry about Brock Bowers. You can't just leave him and not have nobody shift to him if they want to just snap the ball and have him, 2 steps, turn around and catch the ball and just run people over, which he can do. So it's going to be a nightmare for teams having Brock Bowers. I said this last year, if the O-line could hold up and we could get quarterback play out of Geno, which we did not, Brock Bowers is just a mismatched nightmare on whoever. And that leaves speed. We have a lot of speed. All 4.3, 4.4, low 4.4 guys. Some 4.2, I do believe. So just a nightmare for opposing defenses. And then number 3 is that home run threat for Ashton Jeanty. He is a legitimate dual threat back who can score from anywhere on the field. And if you don't think it's, that's the case, go back and watch the film, man. He ran over guys. He showed he had that little bit of burst. Yes, guys caught up to him, but they couldn't make the tackle. He has that contact balance where even at full speed, You can't get this guy off his mark. You don't get those speed wobbles like on a motorcycle when you're hauling ass and you hit a bump and you can't get out of it. Ashton Genty isn't that. He has that contact balance. He has that physicality, and I believe he's going to be a game changer in this defense, in this offense. So, with his explosiveness, I think changes everything. We've seen what it did for Seattle last year with the guy that is now in Kansas City and Walker the third, right? A guy that was drafted. What was he drafted in the third round? Something. I want to say third, maybe fourth. I think it was late. Might have been second. I could be wrong. But anyways, Astro Genty is going to be that and shit and more. I believe once he gets to that, right? I believe he catches better out of the backfield. He blocked very very well. I thought last year for that being one of the knocks on Ashton Genty is his blocking. Is he going to be able to hold up against these humongous mammoth dudes? And he did pretty well. So that's another aspect why he's can be on the field. All three downs if you want him to be. But we know how Clint Kubiak says he's going to run this offense. And they're going to mix it up. So a dude that can score from anywhere on the field, forces defenses to stack the box and leaves them vulnerable to the deep ball. And when you're vulnerable to the deep ball, you know what you have: speed, speed, and more speed. We've talked about it for the last, at least 20 minutes in this live about the speed on this offense. And there is a lot of it, and I think they're just going to add to it, right? If you bring in a guy like Zachariah Branch, man, you're making it hard on a lot of defenses. So, number two, the veteran in the building, right? You have a guy that's been to the playoffs. Yes, he's only won one out of the three he was in. Was it all his fault? Go back and watch the games. Right? You have that veteran in the leader. With the signing of Kirk Cousins, the Raiders finally have. Well, I don't want to say finally have, but the Raiders have a veteran, top tier processor and quarterback in the NFL. You have that coming in the draft, supposedly the number one pick, right? Mendoza. Everybody thinks that's the guy. So you have that guy coming in who's, the same way. Then you have Aiden O'Connell, who is the same thing, a top tier processor. Go back and watch the film, whether you like the kid or not. You cannot deny the fact that he's damn good when it comes to processing the line of scrimmage. And I think that makes a difference, right? So you have three quarterbacks with the ability to diagnose coverage at the line of scrimmage, deliver the ball with pretty pinpoint accuracy. And I think this team has an offensive floor, a high floor that we haven't had in a long, long time. I mean, since Derek Carr, to be honest, right? We haven't had, I believe, a floor on the offense this high. Now, some people thought Geno was going to be that guy last year. Some of us didn't, right? I like Cousins as a mentor. Yeah, I think he's, we'll talk about a little bit more of that in a minute. But yeah, I like Cousins as a mentor. He had said a lot of good things in his press conference. Kind of went around some of the things. He said one thing and then say another. But, it's a first press conference. I'm sure you're being, what you can and what you can't say. I think he let some things out of the bag when it comes to the quarterback situation. We'll get into that in a minute. But, yeah, so I feel like the floor of this offense is a lot higher than it's been in a long, long time. We didn't know what we had in Luke Getsy, right? Not much of an offensive coordinator. We've seen his time in Chicago. I felt like he didn't have the team or the quarterback in Chicago to run his offense. That was not the case when he got to Vegas. Well, it kind of was. The quarterback that I thought could run his offense got put on the bench, and Gardner Minshew took the starting job. So Luke Getsy, nah. The Turners, yeah, right? Then you bring in a guy that won a national championship and had the best offense, one of the best offenses. Got to watch how I say it. And all of college football, right? Comes back to the NFL and is what a lot of people thought he was going to be. And now And now you have a guy like Clint Kubiak that has a structured offense that just won a Super Bowl because of his offense and a lot because of that defense. Let's not forget about that. But my number one reason is Clint Kubiak coming in with his wide zone, overhauling a little bit of the offensive line. It's not a complete overhaul, but it's an overhaul, right? So, overhauling the offensive line, head coach Kubiak has brought in a modern, high intensity. High intensity. That is the key. Mark that down, underline it, scribble it, circle it. He has brought in a modern, high intensity, wide zone scheme to Vegas. Um, this scheme is designed to stretch defenses horizontally. Which we already know, right? We've seen it in every game. If you watched any of Seattle games last year, if you watched any San Francisco games with Brock Purdy, if you watched any games with Minnesota and Kirk Cousins and Justin Jefferson having 2,000 yards or whatever in a season, right? If you watched any of those games, yes, very, very high intensity and designed to stretch the field horizontally, right? Before hitting them with the explosive shots, though, um, yeah, stretch the field horizontally before hitting them with those explosive shots. And again, it comes back to the speed that we have on this roster. Can these guys make the plays in the big moments when all the pressure is on? Can they create separation and get open? But do we have the quarterback to throw the ball downfield long enough? So those are my top 10, man. I think, that's my top 10 reasons why defenses should be absolutely scared to death of this offense this year. Same reason they were scared to death of Seattle's offense, right? All right, so somebody asked me about safeties. I'm pretty sure it was Arnie Garza. Let me read a couple more questions. Alex M, what's good? Alec, my guy, appreciate you in the building. It's been a minute. How you doing? Good to see you. Welcome back. Like Skyler, dude can fly. Who is your favorite free safety in this draft? There's the question I was looking for. Well, I'm glad you answered that. Let's get into it. So, my favorite safety is, of course, it's Caleb Downs. Do the Raiders have a chance to get Caleb Downs? Absolutely. Absolutely. If they want to give up a whole bunch of draft capital, if they want to, make the proper trades, if somebody swings for the fences on a Max Crosby, trade, yes, they could definitely bring in a guy like Caleb Downs. Is it more of a fantasy than it is a prophecy? I would say absolutely 100%, but it's my fantasy and I can have the damn fantasy if I want to. So Caleb Downs would be, yes, there's a chance, but the chances are very slim. Dylan Thieneman, who I kind of like, not more than Caleb Downs, but in certain aspects of his game, I like just a little bit more. So Thielman, transfer from Aiden O'Connell, Purdue, with elite production, known for high tackling numbers. What else did I write down? Interceptions and range, right? That guy that can go sideline to sideline. He is very knowledgeable of football. He has great instincts. He knows what's happening before it happens, probably before the offense even knows what's happening, right? So, Thieneman is definitely my guy. If the Raiders have any chance, if this dude falls to the 20s, man, jump up and grab him, bro. I don't care what it costs. Whatever, if you got to give the second this year and a second next year and a fourth, that's a lot, but man, it'll get us up into those 20s, and we would have the safety of the future for a long, long, long time, I believe, if they could get Oregon's Dylan Thieneman. And then the next guy up is not really on my list. Not really on my list. Well, I guess kind of on my list, but I think he's more of kind of the box safety. Yes, he could play the free safety position. but I just feel like he's more of, a thumper, or maybe even that nickel, maybe the nickel possibly. Um, Nick Emmanuel Warren, or Emmanuel McNeil Warren. I always get this dude's name wrong, from Toledo. But yeah, he's a big, explosive, has a knack for creating turnovers, right? I'm sure can run sideline to sideline, but like I said, I think him more of that strong safety, kind of that nickelback type dude. And then my number one guy, it's pretty close, man. It's pretty close. It's pretty close. Let's just say my tier one and tier two, those first two, Caleb Downs and Thieneman would be my tier one, and then I think Warren, this next guy, AJ Halsey, I think would be maybe tier two, depending on how you look at it. But in my opinion, I kind of like AJ Halsey, man, as my number one, because, like I said, Thieneman and Caleb Downs are probably more than likely going to be off the board before the top 20, possibly the top 25. But I think both of them go before the top 20. Just my opinion. But definitely a true deep safety, known for his range, aggressiveness, playmaking capability. Right, AJ Halsey is definitely a thumper. He's a guy that can play in the box, but I feel like he can be that true one high safety if you have him to be. He has range, right? He has the speed, the physicality, and he's just a playmaker. He's just a playmaker. So I would love AJ Halsey if he's on this, if he's a draft, I'm going to be jumping up and down like I was when I thought they were going to draft Jack Besh and they did, like I was when I thought they were going to draft Ashton Genty in the first round and they did, like I was in the third round when they drafted Charles Grant last year and I said he was going to be a Raider. I would be jumping up and down. I feel like AJ Halsey is going to be a Raider if he's there, if the Raiders can get to him. I think he's that guy. But if not, there's another guy right behind him, and I think this might be a damn good connection because you have Greedy Vance, who we've talked about in the building, right? And I feel like Greedy Vance, I do believe played at USC. Could be wrong. I'm old. My brain doesn't work all the time. But Kamari Ramsey, man. Kamari Ramsey is a versatile back, capable of playing both the safety spots and the slot. I love that. I love that. I love that. I love that. Right? If we're going to be in a lot of 4-2-5, you need those guys. You have Darian Porter as one. You have Eric Stokes as two. And then what? And then what? Right? Right? You have Jeremy Chin as three. Probably be, closer to depending on what. But those are the three, right? Those are my three. Darian Porter, Eric Stokes, and Jeremy Chin. And then maybe Isaiah Palomau, but that's a maybe, right? Maybe Tristan McCollum that they just signed. Do you bring in a guy like DeCamarion Richardson in that nickel position? Who's playing the slot? Who's playing the single high safety? I believe Kamari Ramsey could be that guy. I feel like, he can play, like I said, he can play the slot. He can play the true high. He has range to get sideline to sideline. I think he's a guy that could get turnovers in the NFL, which we seem to do on this defense all the time. So I really like Kamari Ramsey. But those guys, I feel like you would have to, I don't know. If I'm guessing, I don't see any of them making out of the top 100. And I'd be surprised if they make it out of the top 50. I mean, Warren is going to go in the top 50. Halsey's going to go in the top 50. I don't know. He might fall. He might fall to later in the second, early in the third rounds. I'd be absolutely surprised if he wasn't picked in the top 50. That's my take. So write that down. Top 50, AJ Halsey. And then Kamari Ramsey. It just depends. It just depends. He's definitely a day two guy. He could go early third. He could go, late third. somebody could take a chance late second. I really don't know. It just depends on how this draft falls. But safety is one of those that, right, it's very, very deep. And if you want the top tier guys, and I believe he's one of those top five guys, maybe top 6 or 7, depending on how you rate it, you're going to have to take a chance and get this guy early, right? So Kamari Ramsey, definitely that dude for me. And then these are my sleepers, right? These are my guys that I pray to God nobody did their homework, which a lot of teams don't seem like they do their homework, right? But if these guys can somehow just slip to the fourth round, which I'm wishing, it may be a long, long reach, but my number one guy on here, you know, might have to take in the third round. Also, it just depends. Um, is Arizona's Genesis Smith, man? Prototypical certified safety, right? Prototypical certified safety, has the range, has the size, has the speed, fluid hips, fluid movement, right? I like this guy, man. While some scouts question his run support, that's why I like him more, right? Because we don't need him to do that. We don't need him to do that. We need Genesis to play that free safety. Not too many times you're going to be coming up to make a tackle in the run because you have Jeremy Chin, you have N'Kobe Dean, you have Quay Flippin Walker, right? You have guys in front of you. You don't have to be that guy to come up and play the run. And I don't believe they will ask him to do that at that, free safety spot. So I feel like Genesis Smith should be a Raider. I think they talked to him at the combine, I want to say. But I don't know. I'll have to break that down tomorrow of guys' top 30 visits. They had a couple more come in that I haven't talked about, so we'll get to that. But yeah. So while some scouts question his run, I think, that's fine. That's fine. He can grow into that run guy if that's what we need him to be. But we have a lot of guys that can play that box, you know, either way, whether it's the 3-4, whether it's a 4-2-5, whether we're running press, man, whether we're running cover two, I think we have those guys, right? I feel like we have those guys. So his coverage instincts makes him, in my opinion, just mine, a top 50 pick, right? So I forgot I wrote that down. If that makes him a top 50 pick, that means Halsey and Ramsey, all those guys are definitely a top 50 pick. But yeah, I feel like he's that guy. And then, if the Raiders get caught sleeping and they don't get any of these safeties, which, man, they need one of these guys. But not so fast, because I feel like they were at 4 games last year for Penn State. Now, there was a lot of guys, not a lot of guys, but couple of prospects, on the offensive line, on the defensive line, this guy on the safety side, and that's Sakee Wheatley, right? Sakee Wheatley has long arms, right? Has the length, long, athletic, springy, athletic, kind of ideally suited for a single high roll. Now, I don't know how much we're going to be in a single high roll. It kind of depends on what sub packages we run, what we're in, whether we're running zone or man. A lot of that comes into play. But if we do, it's another guy that you can get to play that free safety spot, right? In Sakee Wheatley. I hope I said that right. I wrote down exceptional range and space. Kind of a slender frame, which is less effective in the box. But again, I just talked about we don't need him to play in the box. We got plenty of guys that can play in the box. And then Bud Clark, very high IQ guy. It seemed like on film. I don't know the guy, but it seemed like his instincts were there, right? He was, he's moving before the ball snapped. He already knows the play. Great anticipation, ball skills, a veteran starter. He has recorded 15 interceptions in college, which means he's a ball hawk, and which kinds of moves him up there too. And he's a guy that, damn, there might be six or seven safeties picked in the top 50. I mean, if you need a safety and you pass on one of these guys, you're crazy. You're crazy. There's not a lot. I mean, there's a lot, but if you need a single high guy, if you need that free safety guy, bro, you better jump on him quick. You better jump on him quick. Um, what else we got? I thought Bud Clark was damn good at reading the quarterback's eyes, right? Like a lot of it's anticipation, but good breaking speed. Where he sees the quarterback looking. Once you see that motion, right, you feel like that's where he's going. You're breaking before he starts his throwing motion. I've seen a lot of that from Bud Clark, and really any one of these safeties I mentioned would fit the Raiders damn good. I feel like. Um, and then a guy that is kind of, I don't know, kind of a my guy, sneaky guy. Um, it's Texas Michael Taffy, right? White boy. Not too many people, think the white boys can play that safety or that corner position because they don't have the speed, right? But he's a cerebral defender. Relies a lot on anticipation and his knowledge of football and instincts, right? So I kind of like Michael Taffy. I seen, like I said, relies on anticipation more than his physical traits. I think. Um, and a guy that I feel like if you're playing a lot of 4-2-5, would kind of fit that deep zone. I think he's kind of like a deep zone specialist, in my opinion, right? Not a guy that is going to cover the whole entire field as that free safety, but can be that guy, in deep zones. So I like Michael Taff a lot, and again, any one of these dudes, bro, I would be jumped on. I think I have everything listed of where I think these guys are going to be. I'll get to that in a minute. But my last guy is Kansas State, VJ Payne. VJ Payne, man. VJ Payne, um, a fast rising sleeper, right? Talked about him a couple months ago. I thought this guy could be one of those guys that, surprised some people with his frame. I didn't know he was going to run a 4.4. That surprised me. I knew he was quick on film, but it just didn't look like. I mean, I guess I was thinking probably 4.6 something in there, but obviously I was way wrong. Um, he's got a massive frame, 6'3", ran a 4.40, highly versatile. Um, didn't play a whole lot in the box or in the slot. I wrote down or at deep safety, right? So, you know, can he play that slot? We don't really need him to play in the box. I think he's a physical, um, freak of nature at 6'3" with his build and that speed. Man, that's a missile coming down and hitting you, right? That's a missile. So I like BJ Payne, man. I like BJ Payne. I had Genesis, like I said, somewhere, second or third. Wheatley, I would love for him to fall to the fourth. Bud Clark, I would love for him to fall to the fourth. BJ Payne, any of these guys fall to the fourth, I'm good with. But it just, it comes down to how much the Raiders really like these guys. Who are they sold on? I'm thinking it's AJ Halsey right now, and the second guy I'm thinking is Genesis Smith. Uh, like I said, he's just that prototypical guy for me. I feel like he fits and checks all the boxes that we need, and that's my favorite free safeties in this draft. If I'm gonna have to pick a favorite, I can't really. I can't. I don't know. I don't know. Bryce Lance. Bryce Lance runs a 4.3 and can ball out. Al pick from from North Dakota State University. Can't even talk. I like Bryce Lance, man. The problem with Bryce is he's moving up boards because of his speed, because of his combine, because of his size, you know, because of his track record over there with Cole Payton throwing him the ball. Last year it was Cam Miller throwing him the ball, right? So, you know, I like this guy, man. I like this guy. I just don't know where he goes. If he's a day three, if he's there at day three, bro, you pull the trigger all day on that. All day on that. I am. Question: do we need a true nose in this draft? I don't feel like we do, Arnie Garza. Who do you like in the draft? McDonald's, Woods, Banks, Carlone, or Jackson? I like I like it a lot. Hold on. Sorry, I gotta answer this. D-Tech. Where the fuck was he from? Oh, Miss. Yeah, that's my guy right there. If I had to get a tackle, Arnie Garza, I would take my chances on Xavier Harris. I really would. 6'8", huge wingspan, make it very, very difficult for quarterbacks to throw over the middle. You don't have to win pass rush. You don't have to get to the quarterback. Just get them big ass mitts up. Um, I like him. I did one draft where I took him in the second round just to see if I'd get any comments, and I didn't get any comments. So I've seen some people have him third, third round. I've seen some people have him fourth round. I've seen one person besides myself have him in the second round, and is a very highly respectable draft analyst. And I was very surprised that he had him in the second round. But anyways, Xavier Harris, massive, 6'8", 330 pounds, just a monster. He's primarily valued as a powerful run stuffer. Damn, do the Raiders need a run stuffer, right? Um, while his pass rush stats, 3 sacks in 2025, are modest, I was very intrigued by his massive frame and ability to anchor against double teams, right? That, I mean, you're huge. Not too many people are moving a 6'8", 330-pound man. And when that man is coming forward, man, it makes it a nightmare, right? So I really, really, really like this dude. I don't think he's, of course, a day one starter. Um, but man, was he a monster on that defense. So, like I said, a day three pick. He's there in the fourth round. I could see somebody risking it, taking a swing just because of his stature, his ability to stop the run. I mean, you know, they took a guy like what the hell is that dude? Anyways, the Jacksonville or the Cleveland Browns took a defensive tackle, what, third or fourth or fifth overall last year, that I don't think could stop the run like this man. Just my opinion. So massive size. He ran a pretty damn good 40 for a 6'8", 330-pound man. A 5'4", 40-yard dash, I do believe. So not that that matters, but it shows quickness, right? It shows quickness for a big ass dude like that. Uh, so yeah, that's my defensive tackle for you, Arnie Garza. I like, some of those guys. I think Cade McDonald, you have to use a second round pick on. Um, Woods, you know, I don't know. Caleb Banks off the broken foot. I'm not drafting a guy coming off a broken foot. Hopefully the Raiders learn their lesson like I did with drafting a guy like Tyree Wilson. You don't draft guys that are injured going into the draft. It's just bad juju. I really like Carlone. I think he could be that guy. Can't wait for football season again. Let's go. Shout out for the $5 smackaroo. Appreciate you. Divinity Tees, what it do? What it do? I am very well. Thank you for asking. Appreciate you. Shout out for the $2 holla. Hope your night is going well. Sorry it took me so long to see it. I get my soapbox. I think that was what? I think that was 10 Rebel. What? I don't know. Labe got to make it on special teams. As a gunner, I think Labe can make it as a gunner. But do you really keep a body just for a gunner? You know, I don't know, man. I think Labe is one of those dudes that's really really on the bubble, and you're just gonna have to win over you got to win over the coaching staff. But he's one of those dudes. You see him out there having fun. Everybody talks about his, how he is in the locker room, picking everybody up, being the clown. I think that's just a guy you keep in your building, man. How do you feel? How do you feel of who is signing Kirk Cousins? Wait, what? Jameson Raider. What's good? What's good? Who is Dallas drafting? If Caleb Downs is there at 12, I could see him taking him there. I could also see them taking Sonny Styles if he's there, and I see him. I don't know at 20, man. I don't know at 20. They don't have a lot of needs. Probably a safety. I think a true safety would help them. Another, maybe another corner. They have issues over there with that. So if I would have to guess, I would say safety corner or safety linebacker in the first rounds. Kirk Cousins. Kirk Cousins, man, he had a great interview today, right? He said a lot of shit um, that I really liked, right? He was, like I said, very well respectable. It sounded like he already projected himself to be the starter. He said that he told Coach Kubiak if he's not the best guy out there, he doesn't want to start, which I thought that was kind of a dumbass comment. Because why the hell are you going to tell your head coach, hey, if I'm not the best guy, I don't want to be out there? Fuck out of here with that shit. Some of these guys in interviews crack me up, and everybody ate that shit up, right? Everybody. I've seen all kinds of people already talking about it, eating that shit up. Oh, Kirk Cousins says he doesn't want to be out there if he's the best guy. No shit, Sherlock. Like, if you're not the best guy, you shouldn't be out there, and you sure the hell shouldn't have to tell your head coach, hey, if I'm not the best, don't put me out there. I thought that was a dumbass Homer comment. But I like the fact, he was in the film room for a little bit with our future quarterback Fernando Mendoza, unless the Raiders get wild off that spot. I like that aspect. I like the fact that he touched on having Aiden O'Connell as the projected backup. I think he let a couple things slip and saying I can't wait to get Mendoza in the building and get to watch more film with them, or get to know him better. He said the quarterback room is going to be very loud and vocal, with him and Aiden and obviously Mendoza. So he kind of might have let some things slip on some questions, I felt like, and rightfully so. But like he said, he came here to finish strong. He was, obviously told he's going to compete for the job. So hopefully there's a competition at camp and he's not just handed the job. I think that would be great for this organization, for this fan base to actually have a competition and, may the best man win for once, because we haven't seen the best man win since Derek Carr, right? Crazy. Former Raider Holmes got on another team, but Devin White still on the streets. Darnay Holmes is he played all right, man. He played all right, right? I felt like the system didn't help Darnay Holmes. He was great in the community. right? He was one of those guys that was in the community, right? Helping out with shit in the community. So a great person. Shout out to Darnay Holmes. I'm glad he got picked up. I wish it would have worked out here, but just never really just never really flashed enough when he was on the field to stay on the field, right? And I agree with you, Alec. I think it's absolutely horrible that Devin White doesn't have a job. And I wouldn't be surprised if the Raiders re-sign him on the cheap just to bring him in, to have another veteran 27 years old in the building, right? He was a damn good tackler for us. So I wouldn't be surprised. The Raiders need to fill bodies for camp. They might re-sign him just to bring him in, see what he can do, if he can keep the job. Make one of the 5 or 6 or however many linebackers they keep on the roster this year. But yeah, I think that's shitty for Devin White. Still on the streets, man. Broke the all-time Raiders record for tackles in a season on one of the shittiest defenses we've had in a minute. And you do him like that. So, yeah, man. The Raiders need to make good on that, I feel like. He helped this team a lot last year. Whether people want to talk about his coverage skills, he shouldn't be asked to coverage. He's a downhill guy. Go get the damn quarterback, stop the run. Don't put him in coverage. Don't put him in positions where it's going to hurt him. Hudson Griffin was good. Appreciate you, Chiefs fan. 31-0, haha, Chiefs and Raiders. Yeah, that was a nightmare, bro. Y'all put it to us. Y'all put it to us. Menopause. What? Menopause Al bitch or AI bitch? Appreciate you. Shout out for the $2 holla. That's a funny ass name though. And I'm doing well. Thank you for asking. How are you doing? Belt to ass. Yeah, they put belt to ass. They did put belt to ass. But, we got a little revenge. I guess not revenge. We should have never won that last game of the year. But it is what it is, man. Predicted. Shout out for the comment. Predicted Raiders will draft Buffalo LB Red Murdoch. I like that. I like where your head is at, Arnie Garza. I know there's a reason. Arnie Garza, you want to come on the live one day? Do you go on? Do you show your face? Are you scared to show your face? If not, you don't want to come on the live. Would you like to do a video? Because I like your questions, man, and I like to pick your brain instead of you constantly picking mine all the time. So, Arnie Garza, let me know. If you want to pull up one day, I'd love to have you on the channel, bro. But yeah, I like Red Murdoch. Come from that Buffalo school. I think he's a dog, bro. I wouldn't mind bringing him in, but then again, we have Tommy Eichenberg and Cody Lindenberg. Where's he gonna fit in that? I don't know, man. I don't know. S3 at Milo. Haha, Raider fan. Haha, Milo. Gary Barnes says he's gay. Shout out to you for coming out. Appreciate you for doing it on my channel. Good. Arnie Garza, Rebel. Why we have a 53-man roster, but can only suit up 48 on game day? That's a damn good question, Arnie Garza. And right, I really hope they change that stupid ass rule, because I don't feel like it's a good rule. I mean, you got 53 guys. You should be able to use those 53 guys, right? Not just suit up 48. Because, I mean, on defense, like on sub packages, like I said, you probably got a good, 15 guys, maybe 17 or 18 on a good team that rotate in and out on defense. Yeah, they need to change that. So I can't answer why the NFL is dumb. It doesn't make any sense to me why you have a 53-man roster, but you can only put 48 on the field on game day or in suits. I don't get that at all. So Gary Barnes, when picked Seabass early on, DT offensive line and safeties. We don't need offensive line. We don't need an offensive line, man. What position do we need to fill on that line? We have 9 guards battling for a spot. 4 of them are starting material. Four. 4 out of the 9. So that's a battle. The only offensive line we need is the right side. And it's not really a need. It's more of okay, it's a need. But it's more of a battle, right? We need somebody to come in and push DJ Glaze or be better than DJ Glaze. Right? So one offensive line position. That's all we need, in my opinion. Boston needs to come to Minnesota. Don't you take my guy. Don't you take my guy. What is 4-3 speed without a great route running and separation and hands question? Well, you would have to ask Dante Thornton that question, my guy, because only Dante Thornton would know what it would be like to have 4-3 speed without great route running, separation, and hands, right? That's not a question for me. I could run great routes at 50. I'll put somebody's ankles in the dirt. I promise you right now. It might only be 2 runs, and I'll be laying on the ground trying to catch my breath. But I guarantee you, I create separation and put somebody's ankles in the dirt. So I don't know, and I have great hands, so I can't answer that question. I don't run a 4-3, but I ran a 4-6. So that's a hard question for me, bro. I don't know. I don't know. No, for real though, on real talk, nothing, bro. It's nothing. 4-3 speed ain't shit if you can't finish. If you can't catch the ball, if you can't create separation, you're good, right? Unless you're Jack Besh or a Brock Bowers. Now, you don't need to have great route running if you're 4-3 and you can catch. You have a huge catch radius and you can contest or win 75 of the contested catches, maybe even 80, between those guys. So if you could win the contested catch, you'd be great, man. Be great. But I mean, I don't know. I don't know. It does. You're right. It doesn't do no good to have 4-3 speed. Ask Trey Tucker, right? He has that speed. He was thrown 96 passes last year. He caught 52 of them. Was it all on him? No, some was on the quarterback. But you got to be able to catch in the NFL. It stands for not for long. And as far as I'm concerned, there are way too many drops in the NFL for guys that are still on the roster. I mean, Tyler Lockett was one last year. Tyler Lockett dropped pretty much everything that was thrown to him, it seemed like to me, but he still took reps from Jack Besh. Didn't make no sense. Faded Raider, shout out for the $10 popper. Appreciate you. Appreciate you. Much love to you. Let's flip and go. Raiders. I think this might be our year. Calm down. Pump your brakes. Pump your brakes. Pump your brakes. We could be that Cinderella sleeper storybook team. But let me remind you, it's a new scheme on the offensive line. It's a new head coach. It's a new defensive coach. Both of them have never coached the position they're coaching, right? Rob Leonard has never been a defensive, a head defensive coach. The DC, sorry, I'm trying to watch this and talk at the same time. My bad. And Clint Kubiak has never been a head coach before, right? But from what I've heard from Clint Kubiak and everybody that talks about this man, is he's gonna hit the ground running, right? He's gonna get this team on a schedule. They're going to know what's required of them. Unlike last year, we didn't know who was in charge in the building. We didn't know who was the boss, who was calling the shots on defense, who was calling the shots on offense. We didn't know. We had no idea. No idea whatsoever. This year, we know damn well who's calling the shots. It's Clint Kubiak. This is his team. He's going to have everything planned out day to day. I've heard over and over again from like 8 different people so far. And we're going to try to get some on the show to talk about it. But they all say the same thing, man. This dude is focused. Everybody's going to know what's required of them. Everybody's going to know what is expected of them. And everybody's going to have a game plan every single day. It's not going to be in the past where players were bitching. Practices are dumb, right? There's no point to the practice, right? They're scheduled at all different times. That won't be the case this year. I promise you. Practices will be the same, scheduled at the same time. You're gonna know what to expect. You're gonna know what's expected of you, and that could be right there just a big difference in this team. But it's gonna take the offensive line. Even Seattle's offensive line last year, it took them time to gel. Right, it took them 4 or 5 games to get in a rhythm, to get their run game in a rhythm, and it's gonna take time for us. But if we could just hang in there, win a couple games, right? Early on, get to our bye whenever that is. Hopefully, it's, not late in the season because then we'll be done by then. But, if we can just hang in there, be competitive for the first couple games until they start to gel and put it all together and we stay healthy, this is a team that's going to surprise some people. They really are. Ain't nobody scared of y'all. Oh, you about to be Mason Swanson. Who's your team? Who's your team? Why did a quarterback? Wait, what? Why take a quarterback this year? Take Reese and get a quarterback next year. DJ FIFO in the building. I don't know, bro. I wouldn't be mad. I can tell you right now. Okay, if it was Arvell Reese, I'd question it. But if it was Sonny Styles, but we don't really need because we just drafted, 2 linebackers of the future for the next, hopefully 4 or 5 years, 3 4 years, right? But I wouldn't be mad at taking maybe a Arvell Reese, maybe a David Bailey. No, come on, none of those guys are scream number one to me though. They don't scream number one. Either does Mendoza, but the Raiders have a thing. We did a show last night. Go back and check it out, right? Do the Raiders draft for need or do they draft best available? And throughout the last 15 years, they've drafted for need and it has not turned out well. So I hope this time, is the outlier and they draft for need and it turns out well. But I can't answer that. I don't know why they would take a quarterback this year. It would make plenty of sense to me to wait for next year to take a quarterback, even with Fernando Mendoza and all the upside that I think, his ceiling is going to have. It makes sense to not take a quarterback this year with Kirk Cousins if you plan on starting him for a year, right? Why not? Why not start Kirk Cousins and see is he going to win us enough games to pick in the top 15, or is he going to lose us enough games where we're picking in the top 10 again and there's 25 quarterbacks to choose from in the draft, right? It makes sense. It makes all the sense in the world. It makes more sense if you think about the words that came out of Tom Brady's mouth that said CJ Carr is the most quarterback ready quarterback he's seen in college football since Joe Burrow, and the kid was a red shirted freshman. To me, it makes sense to see what a guy like CJ Carr has next year. Maybe he comes out early. We don't know. So, yeah, either way, it would make sense to me. But great comment, DJ. Appreciate it. Just don't really have the answer. Tyler Lindenbaum was 28th in pass protection. He was. That was one of the main things I talked about on this channel is, can he be the guy in pass pro, right? Is Kirk Cousins fast enough to get away if he's not the guy in pass protection, if he gets beat all the time? I don't think he is. I think Mendoza is. I don't think Aiden O'Connell is either. So neither one of those guys would be worth a shit if this offensive line can't hold up. And Tyler Lindenbaum's got a lot of work to do, but I feel like this wide zone scheme fits him perfectly, right? He's not going to be asked to do a lot of one-on-one. He's going to be doing a lot of double teaming. So, in my opinion, I think he'll get better in pass protection. But, just projecting. I hope. I feel like this system will be better for him. You're going to have physical guys next to you no matter what, whether it's JPJ, whether it's Jordan Meredith, whether it's Caleb Rogers, Lackey Tassie, Antonio Mappi, Buford. It don't matter. There's a lot of guys next to him, so I think we'll be all right. Teflon, Raiders are butt cheeks. I was clapping your sisters yesterday. Damn it, I just lost my spot. What the hell happened? What are y'all doing? What are y'all doing? Stop commenting. Fucking me up. Um, ain't scared of nobody. Okay, I read that. All right, that's where we at. Butt cheeks. Yeah, I was clapping butt cheeks. Predicted. Genty, Bowers, Crosby, Linderbaum will be will be Pro Bowlers. Big disappointments. Wilson, AOC third string, and Thornton. All right, I like that prediction. And matter of fact, I'm gonna screenshot that prediction. Boom, Arnie Garza, you are locked in. You are now saved to the phone, my guy. That's your predictions. I'm hold you to it. I feel like a couple of those predictions might be off. For one, I don't think Wilson's going to be a disappointment this year. And I'm going to tell you why. Rob Leonard was the defensive line coach. He is now the DC. If you hear Rob Leonard talk about Tyree Wilson, he has nothing but great things to say about Tyree Wilson. And I think he feels like he wasn't the guy last year saying, Tyree, get out there, right? There was two guys, Pete Carroll and there was Patrick Graham. And both of those made the decisions of personnel, I do believe. Now, with Rob Leonard being that guy, I believe Tyree Wilson earns and gets more snaps. And for that reason, I feel like he's going to have maybe not a breakout year, because what's a breakout year? 5 sacks? I'd be happy if Tyree gets 5, 6 sacks with, a bunch of couple tackles for loss, because we all know he can do that. He's damn good in the run game, bro. So I'm not going to put that on Tyree Wilson. I hope he doesn't be a disappointment. Dante Thornton Jr., I agree with you 100%. I just don't feel like he's anywhere near he needs to be in route running. And I just don't feel like with his movement, his hip movement, his stiffness for being that fast when it comes to running routes, I don't feel like Dante Thornton is going to be that guy this year. And it depends on how hard he works over the next couple years to develop, that route tree to be able to create separation and school guys like that. And I would be surprised if Dante Thornton makes this roster. I'm calling it now. I would be very surprised if he doesn't somehow get cut. I think Cedric Jackson is better than him already. I wouldn't be surprised if Brendan Rice is better than him. There's just a lot of guys that I feel are going to be ahead of Dante Thornton. Now, I've never had him on my channel, so I'm not going to be, have favoritism to the guy. I'm just calling it like I see it. I just don't think Dante Thornton fits what we're trying to do unless he's worked this offseason and he can, refine that route tree or even come up with the route tree and catch the football. Now, I don't know if you could teach somebody overnight to catch the football, but I've seen the ball hit his hands way too many times for being 6'5" and not being able to win contested catches. So I think that's going to be a problem for Thornton, and I hope he changes everything I said and makes me wrong. I'm here for it. Thanks for sharing your time with us, Rebel. Appreciate you. Thanks for your time being in here. And thanks for everybody that stayed for 2 hours. I just keep talking. I could do this shit all day. Jesus loves you and Chiefs are better. Well, if Jesus loves us, Landon Cardell, if Jesus loves me, then he will take all of that love and put it to the guys that worship him. I know Jesus loves me, but he will take it and put it to all those guys that put in probably way more time than I do reading the Bible and worshiping him, and Kirk Cousins and Fernando Mendoza and Aiden O'Connell, and just project all the goodwill and good luck to him. I'll be straight. I'll be straight. Mike Washington Jr. goes in what round? Round number 2. Round number 2. I would not be surprised. I would be surprised if he survives to round 3, but I wouldn't be surprised just on his physical traits if he's one of those guys that, one of these top teams that are a playoff team already, think that he's the missing piece to their puzzle and they jump up and take him in the first, I would not be surprised. Raider Nation for life. 3 Black Hole, what's good? Appreciate you. Go Birds. What up, G? D Money in the building. What's up? Yup, sleeper pick. What? Bro, just reading articles. I ain't reading shit. What the fuck am I reading? What am I reading? I've been watching football for 50 years of my life. I've played it. I've coached it. What you mean reading articles, bro? I don't have to read no articles or read nobody else's shit. This is all from the head, from the riff. No, he's giving stats in his opinion. Thank you, Faded Raider. Do you think they definitely put Aiden as a backup? Most likely. I said this, man. Shout out D Money in the building for gifting 10 memberships and keeping the lights on in the building, man. Shout out to you, helping the Raider Militia Army grow. Love it. I love it. Shout out to you. I'm gonna read all those in a minute. I feel like Aiden is number 2. I feel like Aiden's number 2. There's no way in hell, in my opinion, that Fernando Mendoza comes in and picks it up as fast as Aiden O'Connell is going to pick up this playbook, even though he's probably has it, part of it, or some of it right now, right? Aiden O'Connell's been around. He's played a lot of football. He's been in a lot of systems. He's already seen a lot of defense. He's going to be ahead at reading defenses, pre-snap, post-snap. So that's my opinion on that. I think he'll definitely be the backup. Joseph227, welcome to Rebel Militia Crew. Steam T, appreciate you. Welcome. Fanbo Podcast, welcome. Jackie Moon, welcome. Chewy Raider, welcome. I don't know where my guys are. They don't even come in here no more, but that's all good. Tyler Stevenson and Hurricane Beast, welcome to the Rebel Militia family. Appreciate y'all. Hope y'all keep your shit. Damn, there's more. Only One Nation, welcome. Evan the Terrible, welcome. And Robert Penna, the OG. Where the hell you been? You don't even come to my lives no more either. It's all good. Appreciate you, D Money, man. It means the world. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. Honest pick, first round Raiders. My honest pick, I don't see how they pass on Mendoza. I really don't. You know, the Raiders have that history of drafting, you know, players of need. He's definitely a player of need. With Kirk Cousins in the building, it kind of takes some of that need away. But man, I've been doing this long enough. I've been watching football long enough, and I've been a Raider fan for 51 years of my life. I've seen every draft or listened to every draft that they've had. So we know how the Raiders work, man. I would not be surprised if they shock the world and trade out of this pick. But all points, all signs, you know, all references, everything points to Fernando being that guy. But I will say this. I seen an interview with Fernando Mendoza yesterday, and the dude said, you know, we have a lot in common. We're both Indiana alums, and I just recently moved to Vegas, and I'm searching for a house in Vegas. And Fernando Mendoza said, didn't blink, didn't smile, didn't say, oh yeah, I've been looking for a house in Vegas, right? He's been asked by many times or assumed you're going to be the first overall pick. You're going to go to the Las Vegas Raiders. But I've never heard the dude say one time, I can't wait to be a Raider. I can't wait to don the silver and black, right? He just says, whatever team picks me, you know, I'm going to do my best ability to be the best version of myself, the best version for my teammates, the best version for my family. You know, it's just the robot shit over and over again. So, but I've never heard Mendoza one time say he wants to be a Raider, that he wants to be drafted by this team, that he wants to be the franchise guy of this team, right? So, you know, we never know. We've seen pictures yesterday of Spytek in Vegas in a restaurant, sitting with Fernando Mendoza, just Spytek and Mendoza one-on-one. It looked like, you know, having a little dinner, talking a little football. So they're gonna do their homework. They're gonna get to know everything about this guy. And I guarantee you, if there's one little flaw that they feel like this is not the guy for them, they're gonna do everything they can to trade back. Or maybe somebody feels like, hey, this is the guy for us, and we're gonna do everything we can to get him. I can see that scenario. But other than that, man, it's Fernando Mendoza. You don't go through all the shit that they've been going through. They went to his pro day, had 15 damn people there, 10 whatever. They went to his national championship game with Tom Brady wearing Raiders gear, right? They've went and got a guy that Tom Brady is very, very familiar with. So is Clint Kubiak, to try to teach him the West Coast offense and get acclimated to taking snaps under center, right? So the Raiders have gone out of their way to not say they're taking Mendoza, but all signs have pointed to Mendoza. But again, I'm that Raider fan that when they come up to the podium and you say, with the first pick in the 2026 NFL draft, the Las Vegas Raiders have traded back, you're not gonna see me jumping up and down and screaming or acting a fool. I'm gonna be like, damn, damn, damn. I told you it could happen, right? I won't be surprised whatsoever. I'll be straight faced. Nah, I'll be laughing. I'll be jumping up and down, screaming, acting a fool if they get the picks right. Give me a second. He's catching up on the chat. I'm trying. What do we got? If they have the right coach this year, he might be the most. What? He might be the most improved. He might. He might. Faded Raiders. Shout out for the $10 smackaroo again, man. You draining your daddy's bank account. Aren't you supposed to be in college? This dude's gonna be very upset. Dude's gonna be beating on my door wanting his money back. Fuck. Kirk Cousins married his first cousin. Oh, what? I'll be here all night. Okay. Glad you're here all night. I won't be. It's been 2 hours and 20 minutes, and I'm about to blow this taco stand. I need a dab. I need to take these damn glasses off because my head is hurting. The things I do for y'all. 2 hours to talk Raider football. I'm saying. These glasses suck, man. I can't wait to get some new ones. I can't wait. I can't wait. I can't wait. So, yeah, man. The future is bright for this team. Whether they take Mendoza, whether they trade back, I don't think it really matters. There's plenty of quarterbacks in next year's draft. If they start Kirk Cousins for the whole entire season, it could be good. It could be the same as it was with Geno Smith. He is a guy that coming off a full season threw 18 touchdowns to 16 interceptions and had another 7 fumbles, I do believe, on top of that. He's a guy that 37, he'll be 38 at the start of the season. Still coming off the Achilles. How much mobility does Kirk Cousins have? How good is his vision, his decisiveness, reading disguises in defense, being off a year? We don't know. We don't know any of that. So I believe the coaching staff are the right people in the right place. And we've seen from the Patriots, you get the right coaching staff in, the right quarterback, and, boom, you're in the playoffs. Unless, I won't say that, I'll probably lose my channel, but they might have been in the playoffs by another way. They might have been having some inside information. So we'll just say that. You could be the Chicago Bears and maybe the Raiders get lucky and somebody out there is a Carolina Panther and says, we need Bryce Young. He's the greatest quarterback I've ever seen, right? Like the Panthers did. And they beat on Chicago's door and was like, bro, what you want? We'll give you everything. We'll give you everything. Take our firstborn, take our nextborn, right? We'll give you everything. We need Bryce Young. Was that the right decision for them? We don't know. It worked pretty good last year. He's starting to come into his own. But it worked out damn good for the Chicago Bears, right? They traded the first overall pick. The next year, they still had the first overall pick because the team they traded with was absolute ass. and they still got their quarterback. They got draft picks galore for many years to come, and look where they're at. So I would love for the Raiders to be that scenario, right? I would love for the Arizona Cardinals to say, all right, man, we're going to give you 3 first rounds, our first and our second this year, and 2 first. And we want Fernando Mendoza. That's fine. Take him. Because there's a very, very high possibility. Okay, maybe not. I think I believe in Mike LaFleur and what he's going to do over there. But there still is a possibility that the Arizona Cardinals could be the worst team in football next year with a new head coach. Maybe they play Jacoby Brissett and they decide not to play Fernando Mendoza the first year. And maybe they're, they were the 3rd worst last year. Maybe they're the 1st worst this year. And maybe the Raiders can get a cleanup and get a bag. I don't know. But I would love it to happen. I don't know if it's going to happen, but I'd be down for it. Got a raise at work. Damn, we'll throw some more. No, I was kidding. Just kidding. But yeah, I appreciate you. And shout out on the raise at work. Way to keep grinding. Damn. See, y'all should take notes from Faded Raider, man. Out there grinding in college, got a job. Look at you out there doing your thing. We need more young people like that. Really do. Really do. Really do. So yeah, man, like I said, this could go either way, right? Kirk Cousins could come in and slang a rock for 40 touchdowns and 5,000 yards passing. Do I think he could do it? Absolutely. He's had 3,000 yards passing pretty much every season in the NFL. 3 of those seasons with the head coach he's got now. He said there's a reason he came back. He wanted to finish strong. He knows this might be his last opportunity to be that guy. You don't think he's going to come in and give it everything he can to win in camp? Aiden O'Connell, the cerebral assassin, is on his contract year. You don't think this dude is tired of holding the damn clipboard, being the best quarterback in the building for the last 3 years in a row? Come on, he's got a chip on his shoulder too. He's going to go out and give it everything he has in camp. And I've already heard AOC's been grinding this offseason, so looks like he put on a little bit more mass from last year. Hopefully he's been working on that footwork, being a little bit mobile. We've seen him run sometimes last year. And then you got Mendoza, right? If he's the first overall pick, you think damn well the first overall pick is competitive enough where he wants to start year 1. So we're going to have a competitive quarterback room where everybody has a chip on their shoulder to prove they are the man. And that's how championship teams are bred. And that's how they are built. So any more questions? Get your questions in. Get your thoughts in. If not, I'm going to get the hell off here. 2.5 hours. I appreciate everybody's time. I appreciate all the mods for modding in the building, even though this is a clean chat and y'all don't really have to do too much. I appreciate y'all, the mods that are here constantly 24/7. Thank you. For the mods that don't show up, I'm gonna have to start kicking mods out. I'm just saying. If you're modding the chat, bro, at least show up and show some love, say hi, something. So yeah, we're gonna get rid of some mods. So anybody wants to be a mod, continue to show up in this chat and the job is yours. But I thank y'all for modding the chat. I thank y'all for the super chats, for keeping the lights on. I thank you for the memberships. Thank you for adding and growing the Raider Militia. I appreciate that because I couldn't do it without you. So again, thank y'all for everything you do. Thank y'all for being here. And be real. Who are you starting week 1? Let me know. Raiders suck ass. Black Kite. Yeah, maybe you eat ass, bro. I don't know. But with that, I'm out, man. Appreciate y'all. Nobody else got nothing to talk about. Bolt down. Come on, bro. Come on, man. Ain't no lightning bugs. I can see why you would say the Raiders suck ass. We've been dominating you for many, many, many years. You have an empty trophy case, 0 rings, and you want to come into my chat and say my team sucks ass? Bro, you couldn't hold the Raiders jockstrap if they let you win. We even tried to get you into the damn playoffs and let you win in an overtime tie, and the Bolts were too stupid to take the damn tie. So, man, get out of here with that bullshit. Raiders for life. Raiders! Peace, my nation. Much love. Love y'all. Bolts fan, y'all know what to do.